Hey, history buffs. Think your life's a drag because your Wi-Fi's buffering, or your DoorDash order's late, grab a seat. Because you wouldn't last one day in the 14th century. Our first world gripes, like a phone at 3% or no oat milk at Starbucks, would have been a medieval king's wildest fantasy. We're soft, pampered by Netflix, AC, and flush toilets. But back then, life was a brutal, soul-sucking gauntlet in vivid, unfiltered HD. No pause button, no mercy. Snag a soda, maybe a therapy blanket, and smash that like button harder than a knight's war hammer. Drop a comment, where you tuning in from, and what's the time? It's 1348, and we're diving into the filthy, chaotic mess of the Middle Ages. Spoiler, you'd be crying for a shower by lunch. Let's roll. You're whining about a stale bagel. But medieval peasants would have fought a bear for a crumb. Food wasn't a vibe, it was a survival game with terrible odds. For 95% of folks, the dirt-poor peasants, dinner was pottage, a watery slop of grains, despair, and whatever didn't kill you first. Picture oatmeal. But it's been stewing for a week in a grimy, fire-blackened pot. No fridge, no hope, just vibes. On a good day, you'd snag a wilted cabbage or a sad carrot, maybe a turnip if the rats didn't get it. Bad day bugs, dirt, and a faint whiff of we're all doomed. That pot was a village heirloom, simmering like a witch's brew, picking up mold, ash, and mystery chunks. Peasants ate it morning, noon, and night, because the menu was pottage or starve. A 1370 chronicle from York describes villagers eating broth thinner than air, flavored with sorrow. Bread was the real star, but not your fluffy supermarket loaf. This was a rock with a crust, ground with stones by a miller who cared more about rent than your teeth. Bite down, and crack, there goes a molar. No dentists, just a prayer to Saint Apollonia, or a quick bonk to the head to distract you. Worse, rye bread often hid mother corn, a freaky fungus that turned breakfast into a psychedelic nightmare. One chomp, and you're seeing demons or swearing your neighbor's a witch. Historians think entire witch hunts, like the 1350 Essex burnings, kicked off because of moldy bagels. Talk about a bad brunch. Starvation was a constant guest. During the 1315-1317 Great Famine, folks boiled tree bark, ate grass, or chewed leather belts. A Froissart chronicle tells of kids fighting rats for scraps, and rats winning. Even nobles, with their fancy feasts. Gnawed stale bread and questionable meat, served on trenchers, shared wooden plates crawling with germs. Peasants scavenged fields post-harvest, gleaning grains under the Lord's watchful eye, fined if they took too much. The church added misery, mandating fast days, no meat, no dairy for half the year, per Lent and Advent. Break the rules, and you're confessing to Father Grimm for eternity. Food wasn't joy, it was a gamble with death. Imagine your pantry's empty, and your only meal's a moldy slop. Could you stomach it? Or would you beg for Uber Eats? Thirsty, don't even glance at the water. Every stream. Well, and Puddle was a sewer smoothie, packed with pee, dead critters, and germs that'd make a virologist weep. Medieval water was a biohazard, straight from the village latrine. Drink it, and you're rolling the dice on dysentery, cholera, or a quick trip to the graveyard. Only lunatics touch the stuff. So, everyone, kids, Grannies, even monks, chugged weak beer called small ale, not for kicks, but because it was safer than the local toilet tap. A 5-year-old had more brews in their veins than a frat bro at spring break. Babies sipped ale with their mush, because water was death in a cup. A 1350 London record shows taverns serving ale to toddlers, while water was for washing barely or drowning accidentally. Monks brewed vats of ale, calling it God's gift, sure. Brother Anselm, tell that to your kidneys. The church ran breweries, with abbeys like St. Paul's churning out gallons daily. Ale was weak, maybe 2% alcohol. But you drank a gallon a day to stay hydrated. No ale. You're scavenging rainwater, praying it's not from the butcher's roof. Fish coastal folks got fresh cod. But inland, it's stockfish, dried, salty slabs that smelled like a zombie's gym locker. One bite, and you're gulping ale to unstick your throat. Nobles had wine, but it was sour, gritty, and barely better than peasant swill. A 1360 banquet menu lists wine tasting of vinegar and regret. During droughts, like 1340's dry summer, ale ran low, forcing folks to risk river water, cue mass vomiting. Alewives, women brewers like Agnes of York, were village heroes, but fined if their brew went flat. Thirst wasn't quenched, it was outsmarted. Could you swap your Starbucks for a gallon of medieval ale? Or would you brave the plague water? Hygiene. More like a horror show. Think of festival porta potties' nasty medieval sanitation was apocalyptic. Most folks used a chamber pot, a bucket under the bed, filled with, well, you know. Where'd it go crack the window, shout heads up, and splat. It's raining poop confetti on the street. No warning, just a bio-bomb for passers-by. Streets were a swamp of mud, blood, fish guts, and human waste, like a post-apocalyptic Burning Man. Rats threw raves in the filth, spreading fleas like VIP invites. A 1370 London ordinance fined folks for fouling streets with ordure, but enforcement was a joke. Castles had garderobes, wall holes where your business dropped to a moat or a pile below. Real classy. Need cleanup? Call the gong farmer, who shoveled latrines at midnight. Paid well, but banned from pubs and churches. He reeked from 2 miles away, bathing maybe twice a year, because hot water was thought to invite demons. A 1355 sermon warned, baths open pores to Satan. Clothes worn till they disintegrated, crawling with lice. Peasants scratched through life, while nobles waved pomanders. Herb-filled balls like medieval Febreze. Privacy zero. Families shared one room, so your toilet time had grandma as an audience. Lice were so common. Villages had knit nights where kids combed each other's hair by firelight. A 1340 chronicle describes Paris streets flowing with filth, choking the air. Women hauled night soil, dodging fines if caught dumping in rivers. The Thames was a sewer, with 1360 records noting more dung than fish. Sanitation wasn't a system, it was a war you lost daily. Could you handle the stink fest, or would you faint? Work, forget your cozy cubicle. Peasants, 90% of everyone, slaved from dawn to dusk. No weekends, no sick days. Farming was a death march, wrestling wooden plows through mud, rain, or frost. Dragged by oxen or your own bleeding hands. Harvest season, 16-hour shifts, barefoot, back-breaking, sun-scorching. You burned 4,000 calories daily. not for a gym selfie, but to avoid starvation. A 1351 statute of laborers fined peasants for refusing work, even if sick. No plow. You pulled it, like a human tractor. The 1340 Norfolk rolls list a farmer fined for failing to reap under hail. Crafts were no better. Blacksmiths choked on coal fumes, earning burns and blindness. Tanners soaked hides in urine and dung, stinking worse than a landfill in July. They lived in exiled neighborhoods, no candles to mask the reek. A 1360 guild log describes a tanner's boy losing fingers to a dull blade. Sent home with a shrug. Kids started as apprentices at 7, free labor, 0 pay, maximum misery. Women toiled too. Spinning wool, brewing ale, or hauling water, hands raw, kids on their backs. A 1370 manor record notes a woman fined for poor ale quality after a stillbirth. The church demanded tithes, 10% of your crops, leaving you hungrier. Post-plague labor shortages gave peasants leverage. But lords cracked down, jailing idle workers. Work wasn't a career, it was a cage. Could you survive a 16-hour harvest? Or would you ghost your lord? Sick medieval medicine was a horror flick. Got a cough? Meet the barber surgeon who cuts hair and limbs. They blamed illness on unbalanced humors. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. Cure. Bleed you out. Bloodletting was king, using knives or leeches, up to 70 at once, per a 1320 medical text, turning you into a worm buffet, still sick. Try mercury, the poison that tastes like healing. A 1345 apothecary log lists patients dying from cures faster than disease. Herbal remedies, like willow bark, sometimes worked, but most were duds. Think boiled nettles for evil spirits. Child mortality 1 in 3 didn't hit 5. Adults 40 was ancient. The Black Death of 1348 to 1351 killed 50% of Europe, leaving plague pits overflowing. Doctors wore beak masks stuffed with lavender, looking like Stranger Things cosplayers, dodging bad air. A 1350 chronicle describes corpses stacked like firewood. Teeth, no toothpaste. Just yank 'em with pliers, no painkillers. A 1370 account tells of a man losing 4 teeth to a surgeon's zeal. Infections, rub dung on it. Yes, really. Plague doctors peddled charms, claiming comets caused the pest. Medicine wasn't science, it was a death lottery. Could you handle leech therapy? Just as pure sadism. Courts were a circus, no rules, just pain. Steal a loaf, face. God's judgment, grab a red-hot iron, walk 10 steps. No burns, innocent. Burned gallows time, everyone burned. Or the water trials sink. You're pure, float. You're a witch, burn. It's medieval sink or die. Over 200 crimes meant death. Chop a tree, swipe an apple, wear the wrong hat. A 1351 statute lists execution for poaching royal deer. Executions were Coachella. Crowds brought picnic baskets to watch hangings, beheadings, or quarterings. High treason, dragged, half-hanged, gutted alive, chopped. A 1400 chronicle details a traitor's head spiked on London Bridge. Torture was truth-finding. Stretch racks popped joints, thumb screws crushed fingers. A 1360 trial record describes a thief confessing to stealing the moon under torture. Public shaming. Locked in stocks, pelted with rotten eggs. Women faced ducking stools, dunked in rivers for gossip. Justice wasn't fair. It was a blood sport. Could you survive trial by fire? Society was a trap. Born a peasant, die a peasant. Social mobility, a myth. Nobles lived in castles, stinking only slightly less. Convinced God made them boss. Knowledge for monks or rich eccentrics. Most folks drowned in superstition. Fever witch's hex. Comet doomsday. 2 sneezes. Satan's here. A 1349 court record shows a village burning a woman because her bread wouldn't rise. News crawled slower than a drunk snail. A raid 50 miles away. Hear it next month, via a bard with 1 tooth. Messengers died on muddy roads, so news was 90% gossip. A 1350 rumor claimed wolves ate York. It was just a bad storm. Communication was a game of broken telephone, sparking witch hunts by lunch. The church ruled minds. Preaching suffer now, win later. Life was fear, filth, and faith in a grumpy God. Could you live without Wi-Fi? Think your life's tough. In 1348, you'd fight rats for moldy slop, dodge plop buckets, and pray your doctor didn't prescribe mercury. Smash like, subscribe, and comment. Could you outrun the plague? Thank your stars for pizza and penicillin. Peace out.